Good morning. Welcome to Cover Your Assets, Financial Tactics for the 21st Century. I'm Kelly Yest here along with Mr. Todd Rooker and Craig Nestor. We do not have a Walgrave in the studio with us this week. I feel a little naked.
It's tough without a Walgrave.
There's usually some strapping North Dakota realtor sitting in this room. Dark hair or light, one of the two.
I think he's actually doing some reality TV with one of the Kardashian sisters. I don't know. I know he's listening to us because I spoke with Jason this morning, and his show was moved on ESPN till Saturday, so he's kind of caught in the back and forth. But we're going to see him real soon.
Absolutely. So Financial Tactics for the 21st Century. Feel free to join us throughout the hour, 855-835-8500, or coveryourassets21.com. You can go there, log on, meet the team, and get a copy of what, Craig?
Well, it's the Financial Crisis Bible. So, again, we are live and local here. We're Cliff Road in Eagan. We're AM 1280 The Patriot, but you already knew that part. 855-835-8500. That's going to give you access to us right now. We know that this is a very unforgiving economy, and we can answer your questions that it pertains to just for you. And if you want to get a little background information or just get clarity on some of these revolving issues around loan modifications or sheriff sales or deed in lieu or any type of cutting-edge credit restoration management strategies, we have Financial Crisis Strategists right here. The Financial Crisis Bible will give you a great breakdown on all those things so you are empowered, understand your options to overcome these difficult challenges. Todd, I mean, you're the author of that book, and tell us a little bit more.
Well, it really is. It's hard to bring a person up to speed on everything all at one time, but if you can have at least a reasonable overview of all of the different options that might be available to a person, it can be a vastly more productive conversation because otherwise it becomes fragmented. People hear about one particular item that might be an option to them. They fixate on it, not knowing that there may be two others that are much better. So if at least they have an understanding of the overall options that are available to them, they can get at least enough information to determine or at least modestly discern whether or not they might be something that's relevant for their situation. Well, then it makes them feel like they can make a better decision. That's the whole plan.
Well, we want to make people to make decisions that actually push them up the ladder. I think a lot of times we got to the top of the ladder and we found out that it was on the wrong wall. You know,
Oops.
Yeah, and so we're having to kind of recarve our way out and these you just can't make $5,000 and $10,000 mistakes anymore, given that you just can't keep refinancing your equity and your lifestyle to cover up maybe some lack of expertise in these decisions, Todd.
Well, you know, the most fundamental thing has always been, but is more so today with the lack of available credit, is proper money management. If you manage your money dollar by dollar without the availability of credit, you're going to be in a stronger position to make decisions, and you're going to also see things coming at you long before they take place. If you don't do that, you'll simply say things like, well, we'll just find a way to make it work, which is my version of fantasy accounting. You really have to see things coming. But because people have had the availability of credit, they've never really had to do that for a long time, and they console themselves by saying, well, I always pay my bills on time. Well, just because you pay your bills on time doesn't mean that you're managing your money properly. And the fact that for 2 decades people paid their bills on time but then liquidated their equity. I mean, in the time that I've been an adult, I've watched the value of real estate double almost twice. Yet people, even prior to the 2006 meltdown, had virtually no equity in their homes in many cases. Not all, but in many cases. And you got to scratch your head and say, how in the world is that possible? Because they were overspending their incomes their entire lifetimes, and every time things became a bit uncomfortable in terms of credit card or unsecured debt, they'd simply go refinance their house, pay down the uncomfortable debt, and then start the practice all over again. Pretty sad portrayal that in America, available credit is considered to be financial stability.
It's interesting, too. We were using our houses just like ATMs, and we didn't know any different until literally the rug got pulled out from underneath our feet. And one of the things that we talk about, really the centerpiece of this show here, Cover Your cover your assets, financial tactics.
what?
Cover your act. Acts, what I said. Financial tactics for the 21st century is the fact that, we do talk a lot of real estate because we all need a roof over our heads and we all presumably either own it or we have to rent it. And real estate's not dead, really, Craig. It's just so different. And that's really where you guys and this show comes in, because you guys explain, okay, you can still make a great living at this profit or invest, but it's a whole new ballgame.
95% of all Americans use real estate to build equity and wealth throughout their life, and it's truly their number one retirement vehicle. Very few of us are actually in the stock market enough to call it a retirement vehicle, and it's part of the equation. Is it always the answer? Well, that's what we have to get to the grease board and find out. Is there a way to powerfully live within this home? Should we continue to stay here? Should we downsize with a plan? Is there other ways that we can manage our finances that allow us to get to the next level? And so one of the things that we do here, well, in the last year, if you include the missing Walgrave brothers, we've actually helped over 500 families in the last year find some type of soft landing.
Okay.
Is it going to be in your own house? Is it going to be in someone else's house? Is it going to be where you can just sleep at night? We are going to provide those tactics for you. Again, I want to let people know the Financial Crisis Bible is free. Just take a good download and you'll get a clearer perspective and now can engage this conversation, not as emotionally as a lot of people come into it, but more tactically. And that's what we do. We kind of take the emotion out of it, get to the grease board, look at the numbers, and just help people get a good sense of a great game plan that can navigate a tough time.
Well, by way of explanation, I'd like to have you guys both just give a little story of clients that you're working with right now here at Cover Your Assets, just so that people get a little bit more of a connection there.
Well, it's different and it's varied. Some people, and maybe the first thing is to start off something that we say frequently on our show, just to kind of give people a sense of who and what we're talking about. If you or someone is in this situation, and if this applies or seems like it might, this is the reason for the Financial Crisis Bible, and this is really what we do. My job in this world today, I've been in the financial services industry for over 25 years, is to help people in a way that most people don't perceive a financial advisor to be of help. And that is to figure out the situation and determine the least negatively impacting strategy when all options on the table may actually look like they're bad ones. And the notion that, well, if it's bad, what's the difference? Who cares? Well, it makes a huge difference. So when someone comes to me and says, look, I've never missed a payment, Todd. I'm not your typical client. And I say, well, no, actually, you are my typical client. I've not missed a payment. Never thought that I would and still haven't. However, I'm using every resource I have trying to do the so-called right thing and pay my bills on time. I feel as though I'm at the end of my rope and I've done nothing but delay the inevitable by exhausting all of my resources, my retirement account. I've taken loans against it. I've taken cash advances from credit cards. I've even borrowed money from family and friends to pay my bills on time because I don't know how to do anything else. But at this point, now things are beginning to go down, and I need to know, should I do a loan modification? Should I just let my house go into foreclosure? Do I need to consider short sale? Do I need to consider credit counseling, even maybe bankruptcy, and then how do I rebuild my life? If you want unbiased advice as it relates to those things that will give you and allow you to utilize a strategy so that you can make that decision and point yourself in the direction that you choose rather than being relegated to someone else and looking at the ceiling all night wondering what in the world's going to happen tomorrow.
That's what I do. I stare at the ceiling.
If you actually want that, then
how many dots?
Then that's what this is all about.
No, it's how much dust.
Oh.
So when someone comes and has these issues, I've got a client right now that has a property that was worth over $3 million in the old world, and I don't want to use these huge numbers because at the end of the day, look, $300,000 or $3 million, it's all zeros when you can't afford to pay it. So the reality is that person, just like anybody else, can't make their payments, and when they look at downsizing, we still have to live powerfully. And what Craig was saying is to get to a position of solvency, because if you lower your payment from $3,000 a month to $2,000 per month, that's a wonderful change. However, if you're no more capable of making the $2,000 payment than the $3,000 payment, you've not fixed anything. And that's the reason that people have to immediately step back and do a comprehensive budget, even though they've never done one before in their lives.
Absolutely. And unbiased is the key there. Todd does not have anything to sell in his aspect of this part of the Cover Your Assets team. 855-835-8500 all the way until 9 o'clock. We're going to come back. We'll talk about Craig a little bit and bring in Mr. Scott Letourneau after this.